Thank you so much, Dave. If you missed any presentations throughout the duration of the event, all presentations from yesterday are now live on our website, noosaminingconference.com.au. All of today's presentations will be up this evening. Our next presenter is Alex Dorsch, Managing Director of Chalice Gold Mines. Welcome to the stage, Alex.
Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to be back here after a couple of years of hiatus. The company I'm about to present on has changed quite dramatically in that time for the better. Without further ado, I'll be taking you through the Chalice mining story. And Chalice, as most would be aware, are advancing a world-class discovery in Western Australia called Julimar. Our normal forward-looking statements and disclosures, these are available on our website, or there are some hard copies at the back of the room if you'd like to read. So Chalice, in a nutshell, we're an exploration specialist with a globally significant discovery in the world's top mining jurisdiction. So Julimar, as I said, it's a new platinum group element, nickel, copper, cobalt and gold discovery. It's Australia's first major palladium discovery. For those who are not familiar with palladium, it's trading at the moment about $2,800 per ounce. It's a very desirable metal and indeed a very future-facing metal that's going to be in demand. Our deposit called at Julimar is emerging as a very large strategic deposit of critical green metals. So these are the metals that everyone's talking about at the moment that we need to transition our energy system to greener sources of energy. And as I said, it's in a world-class jurisdiction. The metal composition in our deposit means that we are exposed to the battery thematic, so nickel, copper, cobalt being key ingredients into things like electric vehicles and energy storage, but also the hydrogen thematic with PGEs and nickel being very critical to mass adoption of hydrogen technologies, both in the actual production of hydrogen and the actual consumption in fuel cells. We've also recently announced earlier this week an intention to demerge our gold portfolio, so we have a quite exciting gold portfolio focused around a 5,000 square kilometre land package in the northern part of the Victorian goldfields in the Bendigo zone, which has also attracted a lot of attention recently. We've got a demerger and IPO planned there in the fourth quarter of this year, and further details will be provided of that as we progress. But suffice to say, that'll be a standalone listed gold-focused explorer. It's one of the premier gold exploration projects anywhere in the country right now. So there's a lot of things to look forward to in the Chalice portfolio. We're a well-funded group with a high performance team. Obviously a strong track record, having gone now approximately 5,000% since our Julimar discovery in March 2020. I think the number since I was last presenting on stage here is something around 6,500% total shareholder return. So it's a once in a lifetime type of discovery to be involved in. As I said, Julimar is a green metals discovery. Palladium, nickel, copper, platinum, they each have a very unique role to play in the future in both renewable technologies and in hydrogen, as I said. Palladium probably gets a bad rap at the moment. It is actually one of the most critical parts of in autocatalysts, and it's used to remove a very potent greenhouse gas out of exhaust systems. A lot of those metals there are in very short supply and are located in unfavourable jurisdictions. So to have a deposit in Western Australia that's got sufficient and significant scale is obviously very, very significant. This slide is probably a good one if you've been a shareholder of Chalice, and probably a little bit painful to look at if you haven't been a shareholder of Chalice. So we've been a standout performer, suffice to say, 2 years running the top performer on the ASX. So starting around the beginning of last year, we were trading around 15 cents a share, and then we hit a record high of $9.30 a couple of months ago. And we're trading at the moment about $7.60, so for a $2.6 billion market cap. That's the power of greenfield, major greenfield discoveries in the space. So hopefully that gives you some enthusiasm about not just Chalice but the industry in general. You can see we joined the ASX 300 in March of this year, and we then joined the ASX 200 some 3 months later in June. So we are now obviously a very well-established company on the ASX. So the location of our discovery is made even more incredible by the fact that it's only about an hour and 15-minute drive from the Perth CBD. So it's a very, very convenient place to locate a large-scale mining operation. Our first discovery, our discovery hole, was made in the first drill hole. It hit high-grade palladium, nickel, copper, and cobalt, as well as a little bit of gold and platinum, as I said. It's 70 kilometres as the crow flies from Perth. The first discovery is called Gonville, and it was made on private farmland. But importantly, we only drilled on that private farmland because that's where we could gain access to a 20-plus kilometre long geological feature, which we've now established is a ultramafic intrusive complex. So we've got 24 kilometres of that strike length to go that we haven't yet drilled a hole on, but we will be drilling very shortly on. On top of that, we've got 8,000 square kilometres in this completely new mineral province of Western Australia. So this is a quite impactful, quite significant occurrence for Western Australia. We've totally rewritten the geological history and the geological understanding of Western Australia, particularly this western part of Western Australia. And now Chalice is in the driver's seat as to how to exploit the hopefully numerous discoveries that flow on from this first discovery. And being obviously, an hour and 15 minutes away from a city of 2 million people, it provides a great, local workforce, fantastic infrastructure all around the project, and we're obviously rapidly advancing the discovery just based on the merits that we see to date. We've got the potential to deliver significant windfall for the local communities in terms of jobs, skills, economic diversification to what is a predominantly agricultural area. So we've got a number of successful case studies of mining in and around localities like this, in and around state forest areas. We've been very proactive in terms of how we portray and how we advance our project from an environmental standpoint, and that's exemplified by the way we're going about drilling shortly in the state forest area. We're going to be using low impact drilling techniques to effectively navigate around vegetation without actually necessitating any clearance of trees. And that's been received very, very well by the government. In terms of community, we have a growing influence, obviously, on that community, and the community stands to benefit dramatically from a new major operation in that area. So the Gonville Discovery is at the bottom left-hand side of that page there. The reason why we talk about this being such a significant discovery on the global scale is the size of the geological feature here. So it's a 26-kilometre long complex of intrusive rocks, and Gonville is the discovery just at the southern end there on the bottom left-hand side. We've drilled 450 holes at Gonville across about a 2-kilometre strike length, and we've got 11 separate shallow high-grade zones that each one of those are significant in their own right. As previous presenters said, this deposit is effectively sticking out of the ground. So it is a very, very compelling discovery from that point of view. We've got a maiden resource to report in the early fourth quarter of this year, and then we're going to be drilling on that Hartog feature there, which, as you can see in the airborne electromagnetic image, is a very, very compelling target immediately north in that state forest area, immediately north of Gonville, and we're targeting drilling on that Hartog target in the late part of this quarter, so not long to wait there until we see that. This figure here is showing a bit of the geology, but effectively what you're looking at there is the southern end, the Gonville end of the complex. It's 1.8 kilometres by almost a kilometre wide. It's a sill-shaped intrusion that's dipping to the west, hosting those 11 high-grade zones. There's at least 11 high-grade zones because I say at least because there's at least 250 high-grade intersections that we've got outside of those 11 zones as well. So there are more zones yet to be defined as we narrow our drill spacing. There's also a very large component of disseminated sulfide mineralisation between those high-grade zones. So you can imagine a very low strip ratio type of open cut mining operation here. And that disseminated sulfide is effectively a halo around the high grade, very enriched in platinum and palladium. And then sitting on top of that fresh rock, we have about a 25 metre thick oxide profile, so the weathering zone as well is mineralised. So it's enriched in palladium, platinum and gold as well. So there is not much on that page there, it's not mineralised. And we've been, as it says there, we've drilled 450 holes for 120,000 metres since the discovery in March last year. We've got 160,000 metres in total to do. So as you can see, we're almost there in terms of the maiden resource. We've got 7 drill rigs operating 24 hours a day out there. And as I said, maiden resource in early fourth quarter. If you look at the intrusion there in grey, sort of down the dip of the zones to the northwest, you can see if you look at the scale bar there, that's 200 metres, that scale bar there. You can see that these zones are significant. There's some there that strike over about 1,200 metres, and they're extensive in dip and extensive in their thickness and width as well. So the ones on the top of the intrusion, if you like, or the hanging wall, the red, are nickel, copper, cobalt and palladium rich, and the ones along the base of the intrusion are more copper, gold and platinum and palladium rich. So there's a bit of variability between the zones of mineralisation there, but as you can see, if you can read some of those intercepts there, they're uniformly high grade palladium with some very high tenor nickel, copper sulfides as well. Looking now along the strike, you can see the limit of our drilling. Really, we're only drilling the shallow part of the system as yet. You can see out to the bottom left-hand side of that page, the intrusion is still some 600 metres thick at about 800 metres below surface. So the intrusion is expected to go for a long way beyond the limit of our drilling at the moment. You can see there 850 high-grade intersections in the last sort of 15 months since the discovery hole up the top. You can see there 50 metres at 1.8 grams palladium, 0.9 gold, 1.1% copper is a good example of G4 style mineralisation, the copper rich mineralisation. And then 32 metres at 2 grams palladium, half a gram gold, 0.8 copper. Some spectacular zones of mineralisation there that really hosts a basket of metals all in the one deposit. Looking at a number of cross sections, these are a little bit hard obviously to see in this view, but giving you a sense of the orientation if you look through a slice through the deposit, moving from the top left being the southern end of the intrusion up to the northern end and the bottom right. You can see that consistent thickness, about 600 metres thick, and basically almost outcropping in terms of the mineralisation near surface. So it's a very robust deposit. We've got very good predictability about where we think we're going to hit high-grade mineralisation. We typically do, and the infill is continuing to demonstrate that it's a robust deposit that hangs together very, very nicely. What gets us the most excited about this project, though, is what lies immediately north. I alluded to the targets there in the state forest area to the north. So we've got sort of circa 24 kilometres of strike length yet to be explored. We've got the Hartog target there, which is about 6.5 kilometres long. It's got every indication there that that's going to host some mineralisation as well. It's got anomalous nickel copper in soils. It's got a strong EM signature. It's a very discrete gravity high, as you can see on the left-hand side of that page. It's probably the most compelling drill target anywhere on the planet at the moment, and I don't say that lightly because obviously there's a lot of exploration work going on the planet. But this, in terms of this nickel copper PGE target, this is a standout anywhere in the world right now. And then further north, as you go sort of 10 and 18 kilometres further north, you've got these other targets that have strong nickel copper in soils as well. So obviously that metal in soils is a good proxy for continued mineralisation up there in that northeast end. Metallurgically, this is a very simple, it's looking that high-grade mineralisation will be amenable to conventional flotation techniques. So it's predominantly sulfide-hosted metal, which makes it a fairly standard flow sheet. So we're achieving good recoveries of all the metals. In terms of palladium, 86% total recovery, platinum 74%, copper 81%, and nickel about 71%. Those are very good in context of other sulfide mineral deposits and operations worldwide. It is quite a novel mineralogy though for Australia, so this is quite impactful in that there is really no material PGE production out of Australia. So we are going to be competing with the likes of Russia and South Africa with this operation. In terms of the timeline, as you can see there at the top of the page, drilling on that Hartog target expected at the latter part of this quarter. We've got 7 drill rigs completing that resource drill out. We've got obviously test work and other engineering studies now kicked off and looking to report a maiden resource early in the fourth quarter. And then following on from that, a scoping study to the ASX in the first half of next year. This slide is probably what makes me the most excited though, because this is just, and Gonville and Julimar is just the first discovery in the province. So we've got an entirely unexplored part of the West Yilgarn Craton here. We've got 8,000 square kilometres of licence area, as I said, so we are rolling out now the same exploration techniques that led us to Julimar. We're going to be doing that on another half dozen target areas over the next 12 months. And it's a very, very exciting time for a company. Obviously, we're no longer a junior, but for a relatively small company to have that sort of land holding is a very, very unusual circumstance, and that is all effectively 100% controlled by Chalice. So if I haven't, sort of summarised it already, I guess our discovery at Julimar is very, very significant. It's a critical minerals discovery. It's a tier 1 scale discovery. We've also got that huge amount of exploration upside surrounding the discovery in the new province, and obviously a well-funded balance sheet, a high-performance team. We've attracted some of the best minds in the space for nickel, copper, PGE exploration, and obviously our track record somewhat speaks for itself. So thank you very much, and please come and see me afterwards at that area next to the bar. So thank you very much.